city itself will be our playground to use as we please, rewarding ourselves and punishing our enemies.
We've been looking for you, Miss O'Neill.
There is a new enemy, freaks of nature. Together, we will punish these creatures.
What the heck was that?
Looked like sort of a big turtle in a trench coat.
Awesome!
Yeah! I love being a turtle!
Yeah, I don't have no idea what's with the voices in that, but that's the official trailer. I thought it was hilarious. The voices are all wrong.
It's a damn good trailer, Joe. But yeah,
it's a great trailer, but they definitely, I think they were using the stock act, like the actors in the costumes voices for that trailer. That was probably before they dubbed them over with all the voice acting, so would not be shocked by that. But no, how you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing good. Definitely nostalgic about this movie. A little bit upset I'm lactose intolerant. Otherwise, I'd be eating a cheese pizza right now. But
I considered that. I considered getting a pizza for this, but I'm going to be doing the narration, and I probably would choke if I was talking and eating at the same time. So, got to do that New York reverse blow, though, as you eat it. But yeah, so I just want to say ahead of time, everybody, that Joe will be my new co-host for the foreseeable future. I'm sure a lot of you have seen Uninspired has decided to retire. He's the uninspired retiree, if you will. And his paw prints will always be on this show, but it was his wishes. I talked to him and was like, hey, how do you want me to do? How do you want me to go about this? And his thing was, don't stop doing the show. Please keep going. Just because I'm leaving, I don't want it to stop. So I was like, and Joe filled in so well last week on such short notice that I was like, you know what? Let's roll with this. Let's give it a shot. And so it's still going to be called Two Hosts. It's still going to be called the Uninspired Hour. So we're not going to call it but maybe from time to time I'll call it the Uninspired Hour or Joe. How's that sound? And actually, I've been scrambling with a lot of these shows because it's our premiere month, martial arts month. And guests are dropping in and dropping out. But luckily for us, there's a seat filler extraordinaire that always comes through when needed. And I needed him today, that was for sure. And that is Professor R2.
Cowabunga, dudes!
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Hey,
you weren't even supposed to be on this stream until about 15 minutes ago. So,
nope. But I'm here. Hey, how's it going?
It's going well.
Hey,
good
to meet you, Joe.
Jedi Brooks might be popping in eventually. I'm probably going to switch over to my avatar because I don't want to be the only one not on avatar. But I wanted everybody to see my awesome headband. So.
Avatar.
That's cool.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so just want to say hello to the chat. We already have a super chat from a guy that people might know a little bit here. The Uninspired Reviewer for 5 fake monies. Joe, how about you take this one? It's your first shot at a super chat.
Here we go. Uninspired Reviewer. Pineapple pizza is elite level food. Fight me. Hi, Joe. Not really a big fan of the pineapple pizza. But you know what? I'm going to give it a shot today just because of him.
And that was for 5 fake monies. Always remember to add that.
I don't know what that symbol is, so
that is, if you don't know it, just say 5 fake monies.
5 fake, perfect.
Yeah, that was a euro, but it's you get used to it after a while. Okay. My favorite one, my favorite ones are the ones that are like words. No, it's like, or like I think one of them is Ron. That's my favorite currency. It's like for 5 Rons.
Perfect.
But hello, chat. Hello, everybody out there. I see we got a decent sized start here. Got some regulars out there. Rachel Percy. Got Blue Collar Loser. Got where is he? I just saw Daniel there a second ago. Oh, here we go, Daniel. Got Neo Hippie. Glad you're all here for this classic. And we're gonna go through it pretty soon, but I think you guys both know how this works at this point. What is the first time that you recall seeing this movie?
Oof.
We'll start with you. We'll start with Professor R2. He's our guest. So
Oh yes. Well, first time I saw this, actually did get to see it in the theater when it came out. I was actually a pretty big Ninja Turtles fan, at least from the more popular stuff that was around for kids at the time. Had not read any of the early comics or anything like that, but had read some comic books, had seen some TV shows and stuff. But yeah, saw this, was so excited about seeing this film, and so yeah, we did get to go see this when I was a kid, and then this was one of very few like actual like licensed VHS tapes that I had when I was a kid. We didn't have a lot. We didn't buy a lot of VHSs. We recorded stuff off TV and watched it that way. But yeah, I played the hell out of this tape. I watched this so much as a kid. It was,
the little the cardboard box one that had
yeah.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think we had the one that was in like a plastic clamshell for this.
Oh yeah, those were cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was the same thing. I didn't have a lot of licensed. A lot of mine were recorded off of HBO. You know, the early version of piracy. You know.
Oh yeah.
And but yeah, that's pretty much how it was for me. How about you, Joe?
I'm just trying to think back when the first time I watched it, but I know I had all the toys. Man, how many spin-off cartoons and games did they make off of this franchise?
Well, the original cartoon was in the 80s. That was the one that had Uncle Phil as Shredder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But they've had probably, I would say, at least 8 or 9 different cartoon versions, and they've had several film versions at this point. There's obviously these ones, which are the most classic. Then they had the ones with the Michael Bay style with this heavy CG, and then they tried the pure CGI cartoony version a couple years back.
And an incredible arcade game too.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so come on, go ahead, Joe. What was your earliest memory with it?
I was gonna say actually my earliest memory was probably watching the second one where they go back in time to feudal Japan, and then as I
that's the third one. The second one is
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the second one is with the Toka and Razor.
Oh yes, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so kind of watch them in reverse, and then as I got older, like let me give the first one a try again, and it still holds up. I really not a big fan of this Michael Bay super CGI one of it. Just this one has such charm to it, and it was a fun movie back then.
Yeah, I hold on. I'm just gonna pull up because I know I have a what is it? A poll up. So I'm just gonna pull up the and you can't really see the poll unless you pull up the chat as a. So here we go. Now I have the chat on there. Okay. So the first time that the oldest memory I have of these, I watched both of them very often, 1 and 2. I didn't like the third one, the feudal one. But I remember watching the hell out of these, and I'm convinced that these movies are the reason why pizza is my favorite food. To this day. Oh, the poll disappeared. I'll have to put that back up. I thought I set it up beforehand. I'll put it back up in a few. But so I remember this one. It's kind of like that Terminator-esque kind of thing where I think I saw them backwards, and the second one is a little bit more goofy and a little bit more like for kids. They tried to be a little bit more kid-friendly. And then you go back to this one, and it's not like the darkest movie you've ever seen, but it definitely has darker elements to it. And I think it's one of the, if not the best adaptation in terms of staying true to the source material that you'll ever see. It's very, very close to a lot of ways that the comics were. They don't. The only thing they take out is like the actual them killing Foot Clan. Which is one of the reasons why they switched in the cartoons to robots that they were fighting, so that way they could kill them without it being people.
Good reason.
And because that's the one real thing that they changed in this, but they got the personalities mostly correct. I think to this day, I mean, it has a little bit of that Planet of the Apes mouth movement stuff going on where it doesn't quite match up like with the talking. But the costumes were really good. They don't look fake. They look, despite the fact that they're latex, they look really good. They almost look like
great.
if you touch. And I remember just as a kid wanting to be a Ninja Turtle. Like that's all I wanted to be. Like, eventually I got into martial arts later in life, but I always had this reverence for the Ninja Turtles.
Which turtle?
And that was going to be the poll. So I'm going to set that up in a few minutes. I think we'll talk about that later. Everybody's favorite turtle. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. You can. I'm going to set up the poll. So go ahead.
Last episode with Crouch the Tiger, we had a really great comment from the fans. It was, who do you think the main character of the movie is? And I'd like to ask that now. Maybe we'll talk about that at the end of it. But who is the main character of this movie?
Raphael.
Yes, I thought so too. But just wondering if there was any interpretation of anyone else would have.
It's Leonardo's probably the second lead, but this is definitely the. Hold on, I just put them up. I just put up the poll, guys. There we go. It's definitely the Raphael movie.
Yes. Without the Raphael and Leo conflict, there really is. It loses a lot without that.
But yeah, I say, let's get into this. We'll get more people in. If Jedi Brooks notices the link, he'll come in. If not, we can handle this ourselves. But yeah, so here we go. It opens up on a problematic cityscape here. This is every time I see a movie that has the Twin Towers, it's like a gut punch every time.
Right. Yeah. It'll never stop, right?
Yeah. It happens every single time I watch it, like watch anything with this. And it gets to the point where I'm like, when is this going to stop happening to me? But the city has been going through a series of thefts, mostly, some violent thefts, but mostly just really quick thefts that are happening with no eyewitnesses. April O'Neil is the reporter that has been covering it for Channel 3, which I love because Channel 3, when I was a kid, and I'm sure for you guys, that was like the channel that you put on and it would tell you all the other shows that were on. It was like the rolling thing, the rolling TV guide. But there's a lot of confusion. The police don't really know how to handle the situation. This is probably the best example right here, because this guy has a whole truck full of like VCRs and stuff. He turns his back for about 10 seconds and the whole truck is empty. It's like, and they're, here you see. So the way I kind of differentiate them in my notes is you have the full-fledged members of the Foot, which are the guys who actually wear the dojis and the masks and all this stuff, and then you have your like pledges, almost like college pledges, who are trying to become full members. This one right here happens to be Danny, the son of Charles, April's boss, who only wears this shirt like the whole movie. It's
Mr. Sid from Toy Story or something.
Sid.
I'm not really sure what Sid. I'm sure it's Sid. Yeah. Hold on, let me just.
How do the foot soldiers see with those eyes?
So they're like almost like little vents. They have like they're mesh. They're not they're not solid. They show it later on. It's almost like a little like a microphone cover.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that.
Certainly not practical for fighting.
No.
Yeah. No, actually, it would probably shatter and kill your eyes. But yeah, straight at. I want my MTV video. Yeah, basically. But yeah, so it's been there. They have a highly efficient criminal entity that's been taking essentially whatever they want, and no one can figure it out. Does anybody really, just pop in as we go along, whatever you want to say about the intro. I think so one of the things I want to say about this movie is it is one of the most efficient scripts I've ever seen.
Yes, does not waste time at all.
No, not at all. Yeah, it just moves right on to the next thing, and yeah, it really does keep the pace of the movie really interesting, which is important for a kids movie, right? You want to you don't want to make things slow down too much.
I would say this is more. I'm not sure if I would call this a kids movie. It's kind of an adolescence movie. I would say it's like a young adults movie, but
Yeah,
I can understand. It's still what you said. What you still said applies. It's definitely they don't waste time. Now I watched it twice for this stream, and I couldn't find a single wasted scene. It's an hour and a half. You get the story very quickly. They drop you right into the story here. Yeah. It's not like they tell you in the beginning. They don't have the exposition ahead of time to explain, we're all that stuff's handled later. We just know that there is clearly ninjas. We see that they're ninjas. They don't know that they're ninjas, but we see that there's clearly ninjas that are stealing shit from people all over the city. I just wanted to highlight this from Dead Gamer 13. April's portrayal of Judith that sold it. She played it straight, even though she could have easily come across as goofy. But for the first films, is just the right amount of comedy and darkness. Yeah, she plays it off really. We'll talk about that a little bit more. She plays it off really well. It's almost like Michael Caine in what was it, the Muppets Christmas Carol, where he doesn't ever pretend like he's talking to Muppets. She never really acknowledges that she's talking to people in costumes. She's just people,
as it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did a really good job. I don't know what else she did. I just didn't really know her from this. And then they replaced her in the second movie, if I recall.
It's crazy.
So she's kind of done with her day. She's been following the story a lot, and I love this frame. Joe did all the slides for this one. He did a really good job, and you got a really good one because this is very much her from the comics and cartoons. Mm-hmm. She's like the iconic yellow raincoat that she wears everywhere, and
certainly doesn't look like her in the latest Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Yeah, that's a story.
We don't speak of that.
We don't speak of that film.
But yeah, so she's finishing up her day. She's gonna go, and she's the nightly reporter. So like she's usually on the nightly news, and she leaves and she runs into some of these pledges that are ransacking the shit out of their news van, which is a terrible thing to run into.
Street dudes.
Yeah. And so they decide that they're just going to mug her as well. And yeah. But for some reason, the lights go out. We see that it's a side there. That's a great grab, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
And everything goes out. And within seconds, they're tied up, beat to shit, handled, and April is fine.
Yeah,
I said definitely doesn't waste time. They could have easily gone with a fight scene, but it was just nice to show. Okay, quick and quiet, and that's it.
No, yeah, it's definitely a. So yeah, that's one of the things I for some reason in my mind, I hadn't watched it in a while, and in my mind this scene was longer. I remember, I guess I was confusing it with the later one. Like I was merging them. Mm-hmm. And they show the efficiency of how good the turtles are. So they're hitting the peak of their skill level is essentially what Splinter says about this. They've been training for 15 years. They've been training since they could walk, which was literally day 2 of their lives, basically. And they do a really good job. And one of the things that Splinter mentions is that you have to leave no trace. Unfortunately, Raphael does leave a trace. He leaves a sigh, which he does not take very well. But yeah,
interesting. You would forget to collect one of your primary weapons after
you're one of 2 weapons.
Yeah. So I think it actually makes sense though. So they're turtles. They're not they're not cats. So their night vision probably not amazing. And he used it as a way to cover, like to shroud the area in darkness. He used it as a projectile. He wasn't 100% certain where it fell until the lights shined on. So this is really just a mistake by him. They probably should have used like a rock or a brick or something, but he used this instead. it's he does it, but he takes it very personally, and that's one of the things about Raphael is he takes everything very, very personally. I'm going to just pop out this chat here because I need to be able to see the poll as we go along. I have a feeling that I know which route it's going to go with the poll eventually, but yeah, so it's quick, it's efficient, it gets the job done of explaining the city, which that's probably my one problem with the movie is it makes New York feel really small.
Yeah, that's a good point. There could definitely be 1,000 more crimes they could be solving, but Shredder's reach is only so far here.
Yeah, but it's more that everything happens within like this 3-block radius for them. It's like, which I understand. I think they actually filmed parts of this in New York, so I wouldn't be shocked if that's all they could get.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Well, usually they use a lot of times nowadays they use Toronto because it looks a lot like New York, like in terms of the way it's structured. So they just kind of dirty it up a little bit and go here's Manhattan.
Throw a few homeless on the ground.
Yeah, but. Well, that's one thing. So, I mean, this came out in 1990, and anybody who knows anything about New York in the 80s, it was pretty much like a shithole. That was pre Rudy Giuliani cleaning things up. There was a lot of Tyler. Tyler lives not far from Toronto. Everybody, so. I meant in structure. It has a very similar. It's like the grid system. It's I'm not saying it. Yeah.
In the dark.
Like yeah.
In the dark, it looks like New York.
Yeah, the New York filter on. It's like the Mexico filter, just New York.
Yeah. The sepia.
Yeah. They just tone down the lights a little bit.
But yeah, like they do a really good job because the city is one of the. It's a character. It's kind of similar to Judge Dredd, or like it's where the setting is a character itself, or Gotham is another great example. You have to set up the fact that the city is essentially overwhelmed by not just the foot, but also other crime. The police are just overwhelmed. And, that's kind of why the turtles are needed. It's not just that, they're doing this because they're teenagers who want to thrill. They're actually a needed entity to help balance everything back.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
But we actually don't know that they're turtles yet, unless you've seen like all of the trailers. But this is the first time that we see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I still love to this day. The font that they use.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
The logo's fantastic. It's iconic.
You can't change that up.
Apparently, according to Amelia Bedelia, turtles are delicious. I've never eaten a turtle, so I wouldn't know. I've had frog legs.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Fatty chicken.
Yeah.
That's what it tastes like.
No, I'm sure
and this is our first real glimpse at them. Well, at least 3 of them. So, yeah,
I kind of like that Donatello doesn't have. Well, like the thing about the Michael Bay ones, how now Donatello has glasses and stuff like that. I like it better that they're just turtles with different color bands, and that's it. No stereotypical. Oh, he's the nerd. Oh, he's the jock one.
Well, they all do fill a role, though. So it's like one thing. So here's one thing I always want to point out, and it's something I was really paying attention to as a kid. I never noticed it. All 3 of these that are on screen right now all have California style speaking patterns and accents for the most part. And then Raph is the only one that really sounds like he's from New York.
He does venture out in the city more than the other ones, it seems.
I never really thought of it like that. Yeah, he has probably way more interactions with humans than them. Yeah. But yeah, they all kind of represent, your stereotypical. Obviously, you have your nerd and Donatello, who's like the pragmatic one who, he comes up with a solution before they even go out. You have Leo, who is everybody knows is the leader, but he's really they always say he's the leader, but all of them kind of can operate without each other if they really wanted to. He just happens to be the one that's able to plan the best. Mikey is the obviously the one who is a little bit off the wall in terms of not being the most disciplined. and also just likes to have fun. And Raph is the one that they say it not too long from here, right in this scene. He has a lot of trouble with his anger. He's kind of he's the most teenager of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, to be honest with you.
Have you ever heard the theory about Splinter, of why the weapons were assigned to them the way they were?
I've heard it, but if you want, go ahead, because
Yes,
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, if you look at their weapons, you have, of course, Raphael, like we just said, he's the most angry one out of all of them, and his weapons are mostly defense ones. Leo, of course, has the swords, but he never really goes out of his way to kill them. So, and you have Donatello, the smart one. What does he have? A stick. And Michelangelo, the most aloof one, and he has probably the most complicated ones in the nunchucks. So, their weapons go against their personalities and have them try to teach them the opposite way of it.
Yeah, makes sense. One thing I do love is, so everybody, as of right now, I think let me check the poll. It's pretty close split. I'm not going to make any things yet, but growing up, no one really liked. Well, I remember no one really liked Donatello that much. Everybody was either Leonardo, Raphael, or Michelangelo. Kid.
Shut up.
I mean,
I like Donatello.
Here's, what's
Shot
the
fired.
funniest part, and I love this about that. Do you know that in every single one of the games, Donatello is always the best character?
Yeah,
Really?
Because he has the farthest reach.
yeah.
That
With the
makes
staff, he has a great reach. Yeah.
Yeah, he can take out the most of it, and but that was years before they started adding power differences and physical. Like in the later ones, the most recent one, Shredder's Revenge, each character has their own, like, this one's this is faster, this one's stronger, this one's but at the time of Turtles in Time, all of them did the same damage no matter how much when they hit. It was just a matter of the reach difference.
Yep.
But yeah, it's so really what's going on in the story right now is Splinter is basically giving them the graduation speech. He's telling them that they've learned most of everything they need. They have one lesson left. But physically they're not gonna get much better. It's more of a spiritual journey from this point forward.
Don't leave your weapons on the scene of the crime.
Yes. Well, he does. So Splinter does explain that, like, because Raph says something along the lines of, like, I lost a Psy. I can get it back. I can get it back. And Splinter says something like, it's gone. Just let it go. And it's not just the Psy. It's that Raph needs to learn to not carry the burdens that he has. Like, the rest of them have their own, like I said. So Leo is probably the best at shedding the issues because he's the most mature. So he's able to kind of do it naturally. Michelangelo is your typical, like, teenage kid. He just kind of moves on because he just wants to do something else. And Donatello kind of gets buried in his work. They eventually mention that later on. And but Raph just carries everything with him always, and that's his biggest weakness. He's physically the most imposing fighter out of all of them. He's the best fighter out of all of them, but he can't emotionally get past things.
It's kind of amazing how deep this movie is, and it's about giant turtles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, later on, I mean, when we get to about the halfway point of the movie, there's like a good 20 minutes of there's no fights, and it's just pure character exploration, which is probably, when I was a kid, I hated that. Now as an adult, I watch that scene, I'm like, this fucking scene is amazing. These scenes are amazing. Let's see what we got here. I'm gonna highlight stuff. I still haven't updated Joe with all the permissions yet. So he can't highlight while I'm doing my narration. Next show, we should have that fixed. But so this is our first glimpse of Splinter as well, who I actually think his costume is the best.
Yo, it looks fantastic.
Oh,
It
yeah.
looks really good. First time I saw this, I was like, oh, Ninja Turtles. I'm like, oh my God, that really looks like a giant rat. It's really well done.
Much better than the CGI of today.
Yeah.
And all the voice actors do a really solid job in conveying the emotion. None of them feel like they're not there. Now, like, I just saw one, where was it? It was I saw I can't find it, but that, yeah, it's like you think that the voice actors, a lot of times, a lot of people thought that the people in the costumes were doing the voices, but they weren't. And they don't lose any emotion from the stuff in the booth. You keep that, and I think the best voice actor in terms of quality, I don't know his name, but the Splinter one, in my opinion, does the best. Fun fact: rats don't have bladders. I did not know that.
What do you mean they don't have bladders?
I guess they just piss immediately when it goes through their system. I mean, they're rats.
They are incontinent. Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, what do they have to do? Like they have not. They don't have to go to the bathroom. This is like ridiculously well split so far. It's 24%, 24%, 29%, 24%. This is. I'm liking this poll so far. I'm going to keep us updated as we go along. So, before I move on, Mikey, while this is going on, is in the background ordering a pizza, which it's
Yeah.
I love it because
I don't know why that's so funny to me.
Because it's the juxtaposition of the fact that Leonardo, Raphael, they're having these deep conversations with Splinter, and Michelangelo's just in the background not giving a shit about any of that. He's like, I'm hungry. And he has the great line where he says, I want, the whole thing is like, I want a large deep dish with this, and there better not be anchovies. If there's any anchovies, I swear. And Splinter cuts him off from like threatening the pizzeria, which is Domino's, might I add. They definitely paid. That was probably how they got the.
Oh, absolutely. So between them and Pizza Hut bidding for this movie, I bet.
Yeah, that might be the question next time. Domino's or Pizza Hut? Because I remember that opening scene in the second one. Everyone's just eating pizza. It's like a 4-minute long montage of people eating pizza.
Was anchovies being accidentally put on a pizza a problem back in the 90s? I don't remember.
No, I just think that it
so many anchovies, they just threw them on every single piece of food they could possibly have.
Apparently, there's got some anchovy lovers out there. I've never had them.
I'm gonna get them today, I guess.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing: is though they're turtles. You'd think they would love anchovies.
Yeah, you'd think they'd be happy to have the anchovies, but apparently not.
I don't know what anchovies taste. I'm assuming that if they're anything like kippers, they're kind of like salty.
Yeah,
like
they're super salty. Yeah, like oiled fish.
Yeah. Okay. So I might actually enjoy that. I just never really think of it. I'm not even sure how many pizzerias still stock anchovies. To be honest with you,
I can't imagine any in this
Yeah,
economy.
if it's like a real fancy pizza place where you can get pretty much anything you want, they might have that. But all of the regular like corporate pizza places, it's not even an option anymore.
Well, in New Jersey, you throw a rock and you hit a pizza, like a legitimate pizzeria, and then you throw a rock from that one and you hit a chain pizzeria. It's insane. I actually don't mind Pizza Hut that much, but like obviously I'm surrounded by real pizza, so it's like when I do occasionally want like the breadsticks from Pizza Hut, I have to kind of sneak them into my house because it's looked down upon. I like get like a blanket and be like, no, I didn't. This is not a Pizza Hut box.
Blasphemy! How dare you?
It's
like switching the boxes out.
Well, I always say one of the things about Pizza Hut is they were fucking intelligent because they did the Book It program when we were kids.
Yeah.
And they got kids addicted to their pizza for lying about reading. It was like the greatest thing ever. Let's see. So which one we're at 17? Yeah, so Mikey does order the pizza. And I love that you're doing this, by the way, Joe, that you're circling the little details. So the pizza guy shows up and he can't find the place. First of all, he was late either way. He pulled up after, because Mikey is very much watching the clock. He's tapping his watch. He's, pizza dude's got 30 seconds. And because if he doesn't make it in time, this is back when pizzerias still had timing guarantees and you get it cheaper if they don't make it in 20 or 25 minutes or whatever.
Well, specifically, this is Domino's.
Yes, yeah, Domino's had that.
That was their big thing.
Well, because they had in New York, especially, they had like one on every corner. So if you couldn't get a pizza to somebody down the block in that amount of time, it was like blasphemous. But he pulls up late and he can't find the location. First of all, because it's a fake number that Mikey gives him. It's 122 and an eighth, which isn't even a real,
Yeah.
Also, one of my favorite things about this after watching it, and I remember they live on Bleecker Street, or they mentioned Bleecker Street multiple times, and Bleecker Street obviously is in this. It's in Doctor Strange. It's the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern lives on Bleecker Street. So technically, all you have an IDW like independent comic characters living on Bleecker Street. You have Marvel and DC. All the comics just live on Bleecker Street.
Yeah, there's numerous ties in the original Ninja Turtles comic and in some in the shows back to Marvel comics and some other different ones. We can talk about another one later, but.
Yeah, well, Kevin Eastman had worked with Marvel for a while before inventing. I mean, all of them do. That's how it all. They all moved between Marvel and DC, and then a lot of them eventually broke off and did these independent projects. And Ninja Turtles is one of the, if not the most successful one historically. But yeah, so he passes up the money, which is a 10, which is a 10, and even though the tab is 13. And there's not a still here, but the way that the pizza guy puts the pizza down into the sewer, it would be destroyed.
Yeah.
He puts it down on its side, and then it looks like this. There's no way. I'm sorry. It just wouldn't look like that. And also, that's not a Domino's pizza. I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, why wouldn't they go with an actual Domino's thing?
Yeah. Honestly,
that's one of those,
pretty good.
That's one of those pizzas that they make up. It's actually made of like rubber and cement and various different products so that it stays looking attractive for like 6.5 hours. Yeah, I actually know somebody who used to make this like these fake foods that they use for photos and stuff like that. They're made of completely inedible products.
I just want to tell Amelia that she's treading on some really dangerous territory by saying that there's too much cheese.
Also, the green peppers are evil too. Let's address that for a second.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm not a huge fan of peppers on my pizza, but I don't mind them. Like it's not like it's not a deal breaker for me for sure.
There's very few toppings that I'm going to say no to on a pizza.
Yeah.
I'm pretty picky.
There's one of those pineapple.
My go-to is I like pepperoni and onion. That's my combination I really like. Yeah. But with each their own. Let's see what we got. So while this was going on, though, Raph had left, and he says he's going to go to a movie. Which, might I add, I find it hilarious because that means he needs to walk. This was before. Okay, that's it, Amelia. Someone kick her. I know she has a wrench, but kick her. But so this was before movie ticket apps and stuff. So you had to walk up to a box office. And his disguise is not that great.
Oh, it's not.
It's
we'll see it in a minute because I have a clip for you guys. But because he comes out of the movie, which is Critters, and he didn't like it very much, might I add. And but like his outfit does not cover his face or anything, and he wears the like headband around his eyes, like as he's walking around. It's just a.
I mean, it's essentially the same thing that Ben Grimm would wear when he walked around.
Very similar. City. He does make sure. I did notice this. They do make sure that he throws on a backpack to make it look to kind of explain why his back is so big. He like throws on like at one point an empty backpack.
Oh, that's
so
smart. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, I only noticed it on the second watch through. I didn't notice on the first. And but as he's coming out of Critters, he notices a purse snatching, which this is the Foot are a really strange organization because they're highly organized, but they still do these random run down the street like things,
snatch and grabs.
Yeah, snatch and grabs. And I'm wondering. These guys, I'm not sure. They never actually specifically say that these are foot soldiers.
Yeah, they're toes.
Soldiers. Yeah,
these are just toes.
But yeah, it seems like you just kind of have to prove yourself, and that even if that's just stealing from Well, this is the 1990s, so that woman's probably like 47. Because people in the late 80s, early 90s just looked older. So,
Well, decades of smoking will do that to you.
Yeah, smoking and not drinking any water will do that to you.
Just New York in general just does that to you as well.
Yeah, I tried my best to not go into Manhattan. You just get hit. It's not the worst city I've ever been in terms of like smell, but you just get hit with this waft of just steam. It's this heavy steam air that hits you in the face as soon as you walk out of Penn Station, or if you go to like the Port Authority. Wherever it is, you just there's nothing quite like Manhattan heavy air. It's the weirdest thing.
Smell of roasted peanuts on every side street too.
Well, nowadays it's Hallel carts. Hallel carts are everywhere,
Really?
man. You can get gyros and Hallel meat
I've been there
everywhere.
over 4 years, so
Yeah, you can't really. There's not really dirty water dogs or anything anymore. They've kind of the Muslim food industry has got a chokehold on New York City.
Oh, it's definitely helped with the pigeon population as well.
But I do have a clip here, so let me just pull that up. This one has sound, but it's not that long. So but it has but I will set it up before we go. We do also meet Casey Jones in this scene, who's probably my favorite character in the movie. To be honest with you.
He's great.
But here you go.
Whoa! What the hell was that? I don't know. Well, that was a crime, and this is the penalty. How about a 5-minute game misconduct for roughing?
Get out of here and let me do mine. These JV lowlifes need to be taught a lesson.
Not like that, they don't.
Class is paying 101. Your instructor's Casey Jones.
A Jose Canseco bat? Tell me, you didn't pay money for this. Ooh. No better! Strike one! Raphael wins! 1-0! Cricket? Nobody understands cricket. Glove freak! 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 What the heck was that?
Looked like sort of a big turtle in a trench coat.
Come back here! I'm not finished with you!
Bam!
have you ever seen the cartoon episode where Casey Jones applies for a job and has an interview in his regular outfit and hockey mask?
Probably.
I gotta see the picture of it.
Yeah, you could send it to me, and I'll pull it up. Well, later on when he comes back, I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
But I love that their exchange. If the whole movie was just that exchange, I'd be happy. Cricket. Nobody knows cricket unless you got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket. And I love the cab driver. It was a little cut off there because it looked like kind of a big turtle in a trench coat. You're going to LaGuardia, right? He doesn't even acknowledge it.
It's New York. I mean, it's you see the kind of thing all the time.
Yeah,
I sent it to you.
Okay, I'll pull it up. Just give me a minute there.
But by
I'll
the
grab
way,
it later.
excellent stunt in that suit, rolling over the car hood like that in that big bulky suit. That's impressive.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they had to do the the dub of this stuff, because it must be impossible to speak in those suits correctly, let alone flip over cars and stuff.
Yeah, I'm just gonna save this image real quick. Hold on, give me. I'll pull it up later. But okay, I'm gonna get back to the stream here. It sucks being the only one who has controls. See, Jacob Ironside is here. Good to see you, brother. Glad having you on last week. But so one of the things that's kind of a running theme here is, so April is one of those reporters who, no matter what, she just keeps pursuing the story, and she's warned multiple times. This is the first time we kind of see it from so Emilio Viola, Wayne Gretzky on steroids. That's a later line, but this is the first time we kind of get the show that her boss doesn't really like that she's pursuing this, because it's putting pressure on him from the mayor and the police chief. And basically, even though she gets warned, she still gives shit to Chief Stearns, who has one of the most political answers you'll ever see for when they ask what is being done. He just talks nonsense for like a minute and a half, and he's just like, "Yeah, we're doing we're gonna strategically place people in a destabilizing, decentralized way, and then it's gonna really do stuff." And she's like, "Well, what does any of that mean in English?" And he goes, "We got it under control." Clearly, you don't. And she's also pissing off Shredder. This is like the first. I would call this the first cameo because we don't really see what he looks like here.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants her silenced. So, which is never a good thing when a guy in large metal armor wants you silenced. Raph, here's a really good shot of what he looks like just walking around the city streets, reading the New York Post. Oh, Sammy's here. Party can start now.
Again, great costume here for covering yourself up in broad daylight. Yeah.
At night, it's fine. Here, you're telling me that nobody's noticing that he's green?
There's this giant green dude. Yep.
But so he sees it, and April goes down into the subway, the safest place in New York. And she's there. Here's a good sight of how you can see how they see right there. She's surrounded by the Foot, who we don't have a clip of it, but only because it was so short, it wasn't worth doing a clip. But the way he holds his hand out and like, "I have a message for you," and slaps her in the face is fantastic. This sequence is very much the antithesis of a lot of the modern girl bossing that happens, because she tries, like first she pulls out the sai that she found at the crime scene in the first, which that's an example of each, everything they show makes sense. Like he didn't drop that for no reason. And she takes it out, they kick it away. She then decides she's going to try to fight him with her purse, and she lasts approximately as long as she would, which is like 4 seconds. She gets knocked.
Accurate.
Yeah. And then go ahead.
It is good though. She does have, I guess, by today's standards, the girl boss stuff though, but she's not overpowering them at all. She's not 1v1 in any of them. So
Jacob Ironside, race swap that redhead.
Oh yeah, ginger genocide.
Well, here's the thing: is she shows that she has fight. She doesn't just back down unless it's a rat. She hates rats. But she does try to fight. She's surrounded by like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably more. This is just the screenshot of fighters. She's surrounded by people who could beat the shit out of her one-on-one. She's not going to do very much. Forking around.
She's not the type to lay down and take it. She's gonna fight back.
Yeah, she's a fiery redhead.
But she is just she is just a woman of her normal size without specific training of any kind to know how to try and fight off men larger than her. It's not much less a large group of them. So
group of well-trained fighters. It's not going to happen. And but she is, luckily for her, Raphael did notice her, so he incognito Raphael, I like to call this version, by the way. He dispatches of them. I don't really have a screenshot of it, and tries to get her out of the situation, which actually is probably the most important event in the entire movie. The fact that it is weird, though, in my opinion, that their lair just happens to be really, really close to this particular subway station.
Yeah.
It's a little convenient.
Well, again, New York is just 3 or 4 square blocks.
Yeah, it's like they mention it later. It's like 11th and Bleecker and 9th and Bleecker. That's the whole city. And so let me see. We're at slide 29. And so he takes her back. He's not aware. It's not really, you see it, but he's followed there. So now the Foot do know where they're located. and he brings her back to the lair, and everyone's kind of not okay with it. My favorite line in the whole movie, by the way, when I think it was Mikey or Donatello says, "What were you thinking?" And he goes, "I don't know. I figured I'd redecorate a couple of throw pillows, a TV news reporter." And yeah, so but yeah, it's a little, like I said, so he's followed, and one of the Foot Clan do see that they're down here, which leads to, later events, not in the very near future. It's very uncharacteristic of a ninja to just be like, because they are ninjas. Like we look at them as turtles, but they're supposed to be ninjas. Yep. And he's just like, okay, I'm just gonna walk on down here. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But April wakes up, and as we saw in the first scene, she doesn't like rats very much. But she thinks that she's having essentially a concussion-based delusion. Mm-hmm. And that this is just the rat that she saw in the first scene, and she's having essentially a dream about it. But he then starts talking to her.
Backstory time.
Yeah, and she has some great lines there too, where she's like, "He can talk." She's like, and he's like, "Miss O'Neill," and he's like, "And he knows my name." It's like everybody knows your name. If you're the most famous reporter in the entire city.
Yep,
you're the Connie Chung of this universe. Come on.
So here we've got the turtles here getting their ooze on. Who else? Do you know what other hero shares the origin story with the Ninja Turtles?
Oh,
no. Go on.
Daredevil.
Oh yeah, I guess you're
canonically. Canonically, if you look at the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics, you can see the story shows that there's a elderly man crossing the street. A young man rescues him by jumping in front of a truck, and then he is struck by this radioactive material in the head, which then bounces and then rolls into the sewer, breaks open, and the turtles climb into it. So that young man is supposed to be Daredevil. It's supposed to be.
Give me that crossover.
Yeah.
Well, that actually makes sense now that you mention it, because the Foot Clan is based on the Hand from Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense. I never knew that. I may have heard that somewhere, and I just never logged it in my brain. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Here, actually, I can.
Kind of changes my whole views of this stuff now. Like they could,
which is weird because that means that. Oop, we got this.
So this is the panel from the original Ninja Turtles comic book.
Oh,
so
nice.
There's an old man who's crossing the street, and a young man jumps to save him. And when afterwards the truck crashes and some radioactive material comes out and hits him. So it's not spoken, it's not written out that's supposed to be
more
Matt
of an
Murdock.
homage.
It's not, it's not written out that it's Matt Murdock, but it's pretty clear that that's who it's supposed to be.
Which funny. That actually is even weirder, because the Turtles have crossed over with Batman. So now you're talking about some weird, some craziness. I'm glad you brought that up. So this is why you always got to bring in Professor R2.
There you go.
When you so the brief version of the story was somehow to this day I don't understand how Splinter ended up getting to New York from Japan. I do not understand it at all.
His master Hiroshi was in New York City.
Oh, is that? Okay. I thought it was that he came here after Yoshi died.
Hamada Yoshi was his master. And he was traveling. His master was immigrating to New York, I believe.
Oh, okay. I thought
he was with him.
Okay, yeah, they never specifically state that. I thought that he got here after the fact for some reason. Okay, well, either way, he got here. The events that we haven't seen yet take place, and then Splinter ends up in the sewers. He comes across the four baby turtles, as he says. I love the way he says it. I gathered them in an old coffee can. I love how he specifically says old coffee can too, might I add. And then he notices that they start to grow, and they end up like rapidly evolving into human hybrids, basically. Let's see, 32. Uh, so after that, the turtles escort April to her home, which is an apartment on top of an old antique store that her father used to own. Her father is very unique, a very interesting individual, might I add. He not only did he own an antique store, he was also a farmer, apparently. So like, I don't really understand that. This guy had he was very, very busy all the time. He worked himself quite literally to death.
Also, I love how manhole covers in every movie are like 5 pounds, and that's it.
Yeah. Do you know why manhole covers are circular?
No, why?
Yeah.
So the reason why is so that way they can't fall into the actual hole.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, there's
okay.
no angle in which you can turn it so that it can slip through the hole below. Yeah.
Oh wow, how many fell through before they realized that?
Probably quite a few. I
Yeah.
would not be shocked if the story is somebody walked over it and it wasn't on properly, fell in, and that was the way that they took care of it. They are specific manhole covers designed for the movie too. They all look like turtle shells.
Yes.
Oh, that's smart.
So, but yeah, that's definitely way too thin. Like if you've ever seen a manhole cover taken out of the ground, it's significantly thicker than that, and it's usually dual layered. It's like a second. It's like there's the top layer, and then like almost like a cork. There's like a second section that goes further in. And but yeah, so they escort her home, and she says the magic word, invites them in for pizza.
I love that face she makes.
You love the face.
I love the face she makes.
This is when he's doing the Cagney impression, I think. You dirty rat. But this makes them a little more delayed. It takes longer than they expected to get back, which is unfortunate because if you recall, the Foot know where their lair is, and they get back and it's been fucked up, and Splinter has been taken hostage, kidnapped, however you want to put it. But I see that Professor R2 is looking up manhole covers. I can still see your screen. Yeah, so they get back and this is what it looks like. And like I said,
it's not much different.
It's not too much different, but Splinter has been taken hostage.
I wonder how many foot soldiers he took out on his own while they tried to drag him out of there.
He wouldn't have. So here's the thing: is he would have been really caught off guard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand. There's like the whole thing is that they're ninjas and they should always expect, but like he would be extremely caught off guard because they've been living here secretly for 15 years. They thought nobody knew that this place was even here. But yeah,
I think that would have been
really
a cool
sucks.
deleted scene.
I wouldn't be shocked if there was a deleted scene for this.
Like one where he's just sitting there meditating, and then his ears just kind of twitch a little bit as they're trying to make their way through the tunnels of it. And he tries to take him out, and then maybe gets blindsided by one of the big bads of this.
Raphael's scream during this scene is fantastic because that one dude walks by the sewer and hears it like blocks away.
Mm-hmm.
He screams a lot in this movie. Like a lot. But let's see. Where are we? Oh, yeah. So a lot happens in this scene. We really only have the one still shot. So I'll just kind of sum it up as best I can. Charles brings Danny to April's apartment. This is where he kind of catches a glimpse at first of the I believe it's Mikey underneath the table because they go to hide as soon as Charles shows up. She goes to tell them to hide, and they just hide immediately out of sheer habit. And at this point, he's basically Charles is trying to tell her like, hey, stop with this Foot Clan nonsense. There's no ninjas. The city is fine. Take a vacation. We don't need you right now. And really the reason why is there was it's very brief and it's almost blink and you miss it. But when April is talking about to the chief, Danny gets brought in for he gets caught stealing a car stereo, and she doesn't see him. he sees her, but she doesn't see him. And the chief calls Charles and is basically like, you know, it's off screen, but they cut a deal, you know, back off on these interviews and these reports that on our work, and your son won't go to jail. And, you know, so the whole thing is that, yeah, it's the corruption that was, and honestly, there was a lot of corruption in New York, even more so than like modern in the late 80s and the early 90s. It got cleaned up quite a bit in the 90s, but it was pretty bad in the 80s. Yeah. And but while this is all going on, you know, Danny has seen the turtles, which will, at least one of them, which will play into it. And also they show him stealing $20 from her, which is not really, you think it's kind of a wasted scene. It comes back around later, but yeah. But another slide we don't have here is that he gets driven to school, but then he runs out of the car and runs to the quite possibly the coolest hangout in the history of media, the Foot Clan hideout, which I have. There's no sound, so you can unmute yourself once this one goes. But there's I'm just gonna play it. Couldn't put sound into this one because it was it's all licensed music. But that kid chomping that cigar, by the way, is burned into my mind forever.
It's actually really smart the way they set it up, though, because it does, like you said, it looks like the perfect hangout. So of course you're going to attract all these kids that are going to spend all their time here. I'm like, hey, I could stay here forever. All I have to do is just steal some stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. Smart. It's catching flies with honey. Yeah. So this is really all the arcade area is a scouting area for the real shit that's going on. Obviously here back in the back they have the fighting pits where they train, but I say to this day, if I become a billionaire, I promise you the first thing I'm doing with the money is recreating the hangout from this movie. I will have all the arcade games, I will have the indoor skate park, I'll have it all.
He will have a copy of Narc for you to play.
Yes, I'll have a wall that kids graffiti, even though it's inside, and I told them they're allowed to do it. But as we saw at the very end of that clip, they all get summoned for something, and that something is the arrival of Shredder. First time we kind of see him for real, and might I add, this costume is fucking awesome.
That's really good, yes.
But
there's not really a lot of things in this movie that you say look really stupid. I mean, like all the turtle suits look good, the Shredder outfit looks good. There's really not a lot of things that make us go, wow, that was just the worst design choice ever.
Yeah. They're pretty comics accurate too. They tried really hard to make sure that not only does it look like it's something that could be real, but that it does represent the comics really well. They didn't try and stray too far.
And practical too.
The one thing that I did notice though, that they did go a little different. He only has the claw on one hand in this one, whereas I believe it was on both hands in the comic.
Yeah,
if I recall correctly.
Generally, yes, it was.
You think
it was probably for? Well, it was probably for practicality reasons, just so he could use his hands.
Yes.
I would get, because it's on his left hand. I mean, he's probably right-handed. 70% of people are right-handed, so the actor's probably right-handed. It was probably so he could actually do the stuff that required his hands. But essentially, this is, I don't know how often he does this, but this is a swearing-in ceremony for the latest member of the Foot Clan to get to graduate to the highest level, which is the costumed version. And I actually do have a clip for that because it's, fucking awesome. And for some reason, I think this one is in 4:3 ratio, so it's kind of a throwback for some reason. But we'll just check it out.
Money cannot buy the honor which you have earned. You make us all proud.
You are here because the outside world rejects you. This is your family. I am your father. There is a new enemy. Freaks of nature. You are my eyes and ears. Together we will punish these turtles.
Damn, society's always the problem in these movies.
Yep.
Yeah, basically. So one thing I love about that is so we don't actually see it, but they're all fucking pissed scared of him. Whether it be the smallest member, the weirdo playing the bass with the hawk haircut from Cobra Kai, or Tatsu, who is proven to be a very formidable opponent, for people. They're all pissed scared. Yes, I can't highlight it because I still have the videos open, but Daniel B, they rolled out the red carpet. It was like a bamboo carpet. I love it. But and we saw briefly that Splinter is being held captive there. Might I add, the ceiling is open and it's raining. It's the only reason he doesn't die is because he can drink rainwater.
Smart.
Yeah, it's the only reason he doesn't die. It's like one of those things you don't really notice until you watch it a few times, but there's a hole in the ceiling above him. And so we get to here now. Obviously, the turtles are living with April in her antique store / apartment building, and she is on the news. I'm not sure what. I'm guessing that this is like the news at noon or something because it's daytime. And she does eventually say they're going to play it again at 4 and 5 or 5 and 6. So it's like clearly earlier in the day. She goes on and she completely ignores what she was told to do. She brings up the foot. She says that the police suck and they might as well, they're not going to listen to anything she says. And to tell you the truth, they're right.
Yeah.
And but she's breaking the rules that she basically agreed to. While this is going on, Raph is not particularly happy that they're not out looking for Splinter, and he decides to go let off some steam upstairs on the roof, which I have a clip of, and this one also has sound. So.
Oh, you let him blow right by you! Can you believe this guy? Ninja kicked the damn rabbit! Do something! Hey, you are great! Thanks, Mikey. She called me Mikey. We really appreciate, everything. Yeah.
Where's Raphael?
He just needs to blow off some steam. I mean, come on. How do you guys expect to beat me?
Hasn't Raph been gone a long time?
Nah, he does it all the time. He'll probably be back any minute.
I have another clip of the second half, but we can talk about the first half. The second half has no sound, so we can talk over. But let's talk about that first bit first. One thing that's not we didn't trim in there was Casey Jones sees him from like across the street.
Yeah.
But because once again, it's just such a small city.
As it is.
But so they beat the utter living shit out of Raphael in this scene.
It's only going to piss him off more next time.
All of the fight scenes that happen with the turtles, like we do see in a lot of films, but it was especially important in this one. They shot all of these at a slightly lower frame rate, so that when they played them back at 24, the fights looked more interesting because of these large suits. It was actually pretty cumbersome, and the fights were fairly slow. So everything is framed up just a touch. It's not it's not overdone, but they framed it up just a little bit so that they could make these fights look like they happen more quickly than they would in those big cumbersome suits.
Smart, and it looks pretty good in the end too.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a picture at the end, and I'll show it. All the guys who were in the suits are they're all like stunt coordinators, martial artists, so they were in great shape. But the shells were really heavy.
Yeah. They all had cameos in the movie too. I forgot to mention some of those earlier.
Yeah, I think I know that the one who plays one of them is Kino from the second movie.
Yeah, Yeah.
And
the guy who plays Raphael, the guy who's in the suit, actually, he was the guy in the cab when Raphael rolls over the over the
I
cab.
didn't realize
He's
that.
not the cab driver. He's the passenger.
Oh, it would have been better
in
if he was
there.
the cab driver.
Yeah, so no, he's the passenger in the back of the taxi cab that says, "What was that?" Yeah, and then actually Michelangelo's actor is the guy who delivers the pizza
Oh, okay.
at the beginning. Yeah,
That.
and then Donatello's actor he is the one with the Foot Clan that slaps April.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
and I agree with Dead Gamers 13 here. By the way, like they get dangerously close to killing Raphael. Like if he wasn't a turtle with that shell, that fall would have probably killed him.
Oh yeah. And you also do see was it David Foreman, I think, who plays Leonardo. His actor, you actually see his face in there's the fight later with Tetsu. You
Tatsu.
see him. Tatsu, yeah. You see he's one of the gang members in the room.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that would have been for budgetary reasons as well to reuse some of the stunt guys. Yeah. So, I do have the second half of the fight. This has no sound, so you can unmute yourself. We can talk over it. This is a relatively long clip, so. Fellow chucker, eh? But yeah, so they fight inside the apartment building at first, and it's not too many of the Foot Clan have made their way down so far, but more end up coming in through the door first. I love this. They try to drown a turtle.
Yeah, the spitting on him.
Yeah. But yeah, so. First thing that they do is that they bring in guys with medieval axes for some reason.
What do you mean is essential to the plot?
Well, I know where they got. It's an antique store. They probably took them from the store downstairs.
Yeah,
it is essential to the plot though because they chop the floor up and fall through.
Yep.
Now,
it also causes the fire.
Yeah. Now, what's his name? Tatsu. Was he a big character? I don't remember going that far back. Was he a big character?
He wasn't. He wasn't that big in the cartoons. He's bigger in the comics and games and stuff. He wasn't big in the cartoons though.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best lines. So it's when they're hitting the floor with all the axes. Donatello says, "Oh, these guys clearly aren't lumberjacks," and then Michelangelo turns to him and says, "Yeah, the only thing that would be safe in the woods would be the trees." And this is where we see the line from earlier that I think it was Amelia said when Casey shows up and they go, "Wayne Gretzky on steroids?" Like,
hold on, Corey Feldman was Donatello.
Yes, he was the voice.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the voice.
I know that.
One of my favorite little things, I think it's the Burbs. It is the Burbs because he keeps trying to have a party. The Corey Feldman's character keeps trying to have a party, and he keeps telling people that the pizza dude is going to show up throughout the whole movie. And then when the pizza guy finally does show up, he goes, "Yo, pizza dude!" Like, it's so him as Donatello. It's like...
Also, Sam Rockwell is in this too. Really early in his career.
Yeah, he was. I mean, if I play, I could play. He's in this sequence right here. If you look, I'll just play it again. This is obviously we're out of order right now, but in just about 2 seconds. Yep, there he is.
I didn't realize
that was cigarette guy.
Was that because that was the most badass thing you could do as a kid in the early 90s was just smoke cigarettes and join the Foot Clan.
Total rebel.
Yeah. That guy, they clearly went with one take on that kid, by the way, because he does not enunciate a single word. He's like, "Got any cigarettes?"
That's all they needed.
Did you move your mouth at all in that sequence?
Said, "Print it." Director tapped him on the shoulder and says, "You're going to be big one day, kid."
Well, I wonder. Let me check. What was the budget on this movie?
Probably $5 million.
It was.
It was an independent project. So yeah, this was not a big. Yeah, this was not a big studio.
You got Domino's foot in the bill, probly, and all the other stuff.
Domino's wasn't as big of a company as it is now. Back then, they were, it's a lot of these companies have become much larger now. Let's see what the budget was on this. I'm curious. I should have looked this up beforehand.
Well, definitely made its money back.
13.5 million. Probably half of that came from Domino's. That's not a particularly big budget, and with all the latex required, like the costumes, probably took up a bunch of that budget.
Yeah, and then, well, I mean, worldwide box office, they made over 200
That's
mil, so they
a big number.
yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, forking around. Don't go watch the movie now. We're not done talking about it. I mean, we have like half the movie left. If you really want to go watch the movie, I'm not going to stop you, but I don't know how I could. I don't even know who you are. So, but so yeah, they escape from the fire, and in what is it, April's rickety van, as Charles said earlier in the movie, which I love that, because the van, that's another one of those comic accurate things. She has this big bulky, like family going across country van that she drives around in all over New York.
Yes.
And but no, let's see,
Conversion van.
Yeah.
Giant van.
Well, you're only going 4 blocks, so.
Well, no, they're going out to upstate New York, which is like at least 7 blocks. So, and but Danny he feels bad because it was him who gave the information on how they could find the turtles. He like steps up when Shredder's talking, and it's very much like, at first you think he's gonna get fucked up because he like interrupts the Shredder, but it's clear that he gave the information. And but he feels really bad about it, and he goes to talk to Splinter, who he didn't realize could talk, by the way. He just kind of sneaks off to go be alone, and he just ends up where Splinter is. And Splinter can tell that he's carrying a lot. I think the exact line is something along the lines of, how can a face so young carry so many burdens? He can see that this kid is clearly torn on not only his family life, but the decisions he's been making for probably the last 6 months or so, I would say. He's avoiding school. He's hanging out with these criminals. He literally just sold a woman up the river for no reason other than to gain like clout within this organization. So yeah, Splinter kind of becomes, as he says, my ear is open, which is both a reference to the fact he has a cut open ear and he's willing to listen.
Mm-hmm.
This is really the start of, in my opinion, where the movie... So as a kid, I thought this was the slow, shitty part of the movie. And now as an adult, I realize this is the most important shit in this movie.
Absolutely.
It's the character development section of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if anybody has anything about this particular section...
Oh, no, I think it's just, like I said, very well done. And, you really don't notice these things on the first time around in 1990. So... now it really hits home, I think, with a lot of the stuff. Even just Splinter's line with just talking about a face so young with so many burdens. Like, that's a really solid screenwriting back then.
Well, it also puts the doubt of what's going on, because he says something like, my father couldn't care less about me. And he goes, all fathers care for their sons, because that is... Now, it's easy to forget, but, Splinter is their adoptive father. We don't really think about it because it's like, okay, turtles and rats, but he's like really like they have the intellect of humans, so he's the adoptive father. He loves these turtles, these things that aren't even a species that is the same as him. He loves them all the same. And so if there's a character in this movie who is uniquely equipped to talk about loving a son, it's him.
Absolutely.
But in order to get away, April just happens to have this farm out of somewhere outside of the city where they can do the repairs necessary to the van, which I love that. So they all kind of cope in their own ways. So Raphael is obviously next to dead, and Donatello kind of copes by doing the thing he does best, which is fixing things. And, he's working along Casey Jones, who they never really specifically state that he has a background in fixing cars, but clearly he has some sort of mechanical background. And he also was a hockey player. They mentioned that in this sequence as well. He was a professional hockey player before he got injured. That's why he chose the aesthetic he did for his crime-fighting persona. I love the game they play where they have to keep insulting each other with the next letter of the alphabet.
I think this is definitely one of probably the second best relationship of this movie. Of course, I like the dynamic of Raphael and Leonardo, but Casey and Raphael really feel real to me.
No, yeah, definitely. Casey is the perfect character for them, because he's really, there's a thing that people often say about professional athletes, because it takes them longer to mature a lot of times. And that's because, if you're really good athlete in high school, then you go to college and they kind of coddle you because it's, okay, he's got a scholarship, and then you go become a professional, and it's like you kind of always, like, the organizations are kind of always your parents handling everything for you. So the fact that he's kind of an immature, I don't know what Elias Codius was at this point. I don't know. He looks like he's in his like mid to late 20s. It would make sense that he would get along with these 15-year-olds, because he probably hasn't matured much from that age. And yeah, I love the fact that they have the Rachel Percy right here says it. They have the coping mechanism. They keep trading insults, and they keep going up the alphabet. So like it starts with like, it would be like asshole, bitch face, but like, like obviously it's not as raunchy and like, but and then what else we got? And April is kind of coping in her way by drawing, which she's drawing their coping mechanism. So it's a double cope. Yeah. And this picture will become important in the very near future. I'll go back to it for now. Leonardo's coping mechanism. So he was really the reason why Raphael got screwed up to begin with, because he basically told Raphael to go fuck himself. Go do whatever you're going to do. We don't need you around here. And then he goes up to the roof, and that's where he gets nearly beaten to death. So Leonardo really carries this as like, it's his responsibility to watch over Raphael and make sure that he survives. And that's exactly what he does. He basically sits vigil, waiting until Raph wakes up, which he does, and he's, as a typical teenager, immediately asks for food.
I think that's I don't know if Domino's delivers that far out.
No, I don't even know where they got the food from, because like they show Casey Jones like cooking, but it's like, dude, no one's been at this place for years. Like, where are you getting food? It's like the one plot hole in the movie. So Shredder is just flat out obsessed with them at this point. He notices, based on the reports of the Foot Clan, that he recognizes their fighting style. He doesn't understand how it's possible. It reminds him of someone from the past, which we will find out eventually. And Tatsu is especially confused. He's like, we haven't heard from these turtles in days. The kid who sold them up the river is gone. Like, what does it matter? Like, let's just... Oh, yeah, here. This is a great one. We'll get to it in a second. But yeah, Casey is chopping carrots with Leo's sword. It's
yeah.
But this is at the point where Shredder is getting extremely short with them. He does not want to hear any of this shit. And actually, Tatsu kind of takes it out on the Foot Clan members. Like, he beats the shit out of them because he looks bad because they didn't succeed. And it's kind of showing the cracks in this familial system that they tried to explain to these kids. It's like, oh, we're the family that you need. Your family's turned their back on you. Society turns, we will take care of you, but there's clearly ulterior motives to it.
Well, it's also a nice dichotomy too of how Splinter has his relationship with the Turtles, and looks how he cultivated that versus Shredder's, which is trying to be, I guess, quick and giving you the things that you want versus what you need.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very much so. It's the quick and easy road. It's the quick and easy road versus the road less traveled. Yep. And only I think
it's the light side of the Force. It's the light side of the Force and the dark side of the Force.
Absolutely.
Right? It's two different versions of power, two different versions of family. What does it actually mean? Oh, we'll give you all these things if you give back to us, versus sort of an unconditional connection and love.
I'm sure that this is true. Legs and Vohis, Glegson or Jegson. Tatsu killed the recruit originally, and they went back and posted and added groaning. I didn't know that off the top of my head, but I'm sure that made sense. They probably test audiences probably hated that. That was one thing that a lot of test audiences said about this movie is that it was a bit on the violent side, considering the fact they thought it was for kids. Obviously it wasn't the most popular comic book at the time. It was very popular, but it wasn't, it was no Superman or Batman. But back on the farm, the turtles continue to prep for the inevitable fight that they know that they're going to have to go back and fight. They just don't know when, where, or how they're going to do it. And then possibly the most out of place scene in the whole movie happens, which is when Casey Jones forcibly massages April. She goes to get away from him and he's like, "No, I'm massaging your shoulders, bitch. You sit down." It's a very weird scene.
Take this.
It's like the grapiest massage of all time.
Well, he saw the turtles were moving in on her. He had to stake his claim.
Yeah.
And like you said, he's very stunted and immature too, so.
This scene is so much funnier as I'm an adult now that he's offering them turtle wax to for the massage. That's a great picture. That honestly, I should have used that as the thumbnail.
I saw that.
That's a great grab.
In it.
Yeah. So Leo has his his moment of clarity where he sort of hears Splinter, and he decides that they all need to kind of go on a vision quest. So he drags them out in the woods, and in true fashion, Donatello brings marshmallows. But really, this is the turning point where this is the final bit that they need, because them being all together is the what makes them stronger. It's the fact that they're bonded. The foot is greater in number, but they share no bond other than we want shit. We want money and power, and that's really their bond is completely familial, but it's also there's no money for them in it. It's just them having each other, and that's exactly what Splinter says, and he frames it in a I'm gonna die kind of way, even though we all know he kind of doesn't, but and that motivates them to realize that they have the tools necessary to head back into the city and take on the foot. And that's kind of the end of the little character exploration section. I mean, they do it. We do a little bit more character exploration toward the end, but that's really the solid what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have anything on that?
Like the chat said, it's a beautiful moment right there.
Mm-hmm.
Them just realizing that okay, we can do this, and then coming together. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's like I said, when I was a kid, this was the scene that I would fast forward through because there was no, there wasn't any fighting, there was no cool shit, there was no backflips, there was, it was just a bunch of dudes and one chick sitting around the sofa. That's basically what it was, and nothing. No one's gonna laugh at that one.
No, I think I was trying to find a meme of that.
Yeah, I should have did that. I should have slipped one in there, them just around the sofa and put all the. Anyway, that's for another.
As you're saying that, I'm quickly just trying to look that up right now.
But so they do head back to the city, which it's raining because of course it is. It's New York. It rains at the worst possible times in New York, and they go back down into their hideout where they find Danny, that's where he disappeared to. Which is weird because my guess is that he wasn't one of the members who went and ransacked the place. So
yeah,
I don't know how he really knew where this was. But whatever. It's an easily ignorable little detail. And he asks if he can stay there because he'll go back in the morning. He's really torn about the whole situation. He doesn't really want to be a member of the Foot Clan anymore, but he really doesn't have anywhere else to go. By obviously considering the fact he went and spent several days in the sewers, he doesn't really have anywhere else to go. And yes, do you want penicillin on your pizza? It's they have a whole Taps funeral for the pizza is fantastic. I don't know where Tom Connors is. Where is Tom Connors? If he wants to join, he can. I haven't spoken to Tom in a long time.
Also,
But,
the whole Donatello's getting his ass kicked, and Raphael is taking the lead.
Yeah, it started. Yeah, I mean,
It was
we'll
very
get to
even
that
for
later.
a while.
Yeah, it was. I had a feeling that would slowly happen, that it would slowly get to that. But so while this is going on, one thing that's kind of important is that Danny asks to keep one of the drawings that April did, and then while they're all asleep, hold on. Yeah, I mean, I've kept the pizza out of the refrigerator for 2 days straight, and it did not mold. But they are in a sewer. So it probably has more bacteria around it to do things. That would be my guess.
Could be.
Yeah, if you're in your kitchen of like your house, you could probably leave a pizza out for 2 or 3 days. It'll get dry, but it won't grow mold. But if you're in a sewer, first of all, this kid's immune system must be something else, because he probably. But it was kind of just so they all go to sleep, and he kind of sneaks off, but he's seen by Casey, who it turns out had claustrophobia and couldn't sleep down in the sewer, so he had to go sleep in the truck, which is even more claustrophobic. So he couldn't sleep at all. And yes, well, his character development really is that comes when he's just kind of. He's pretty static, but he forces a lot of character development from other people and other characters. But he does notice that Danny is sneaking off, and he's headed back to the greatest place in the history of 1990s teenage living. I just want this place.
One day.
When I have $1 billion, I will recreate it, and I won't charge anybody can come. But oh yeah, I do like that. I'm going to bring that up back to where what he was saying. He goes, "You're claustrophobic." He's like, "I've never even looked at another man." It's that's one of those like hidden gem lines in the movie. But Danny has returned to speak with Splinter one more time, because it's like, it's Mr. Miyagi, basically. It's like the only one he can get straight answers from, even though they're very cryptic. And he tells the story about. Honestly, this one I should have got a clip for, because I love the rat
puppet doing like calisthenics or whatever.
Yeah,
for some odd reason, the flashbacks are all very blurry. I don't know
I think
why.
it's done on purpose. I think it's supposed to be, because if I watching it in HD, it almost looks like it's on grainy, like pre-1980s film.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to give it a dreamlike quality to the,
or at least just like a distant time. How long it's been. So like, it's been 15 years. This takes place in, I'm guessing, 1990. They never specifically state otherwise, and so it would have been 1975. Would have been when this event was happening. So it's probably just filmed to look like something from 1975, which is actually kind of smart. I like that. I like when they do things like that. But he basically tells the story of his master, Yoshi, and Orokusaki, who was his rival, and how Orokusaki killed him and also chopped off Splinter's ear and sent him packing into the sewers, basically. And that was no one had heard from Orokusaki for a very long time, but he does point out that Danny's headband has the symbol, his family symbol, and which is the dragon doji. And so it's kind of like, yeah, it's pretty obvious who the Shredder is at this point, but that's when the Shredder actually shows up and notices that the aforementioned headband is on the ground. And he's not particularly happy about that. I mean, I wouldn't be if my family symbol was just thrown on the ground. Yes, the ASPCA in New York. The police didn't even give a shit about everyone losing property. I don't think the ASPCA was getting much funding at this point.
I think they only show up when you have a pet squirrel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's
Too
the,
soon. Too soon.
Too soon.
It's always too soon.
Yeah, I guess it is kind of the hardest part to buy. I mean, they had to explain it somehow because like how would Splinter be like practicing? He couldn't even. It is weird.
Yeah.
He wasn't
Yeah.
a mutant yet, so it is a little strange, but it's fine. I'll let it go because it's both cute and awesome at the same time. But yeah, so Shredder notices that and decides that's fucked up. Why'd you do that? And he finds the picture that Danny took from April, which keys him in that the turtles are not only alive, but they're back. He decides that, well, you guys keep fucking up. I'm going to use the Foot Clan, but I'm going to make sure that I'm there this time myself too. And they all kind of go. We don't have any slides of that because both scenes sort of happen at the same time. So I just cover the what happens with Splinter here. But essentially, they go down and they all try to attack the turtles, and the turtles essentially know it's going to happen and beat the shit out of the Foot Clan. While that's going on, though, Casey Jones and Danny try to save Splinter. And they're about to do so until they're cornered by Tatsu and Sam Rockwell, who hasn't won his Oscar yet at this point. So he was just accepting any role. And I love this. It's off screen from here, but obviously Casey Jones, his whole thing is sports equipment. That's his go-to weapons, and he notices a bag of golf clubs and grabs one and basically beats the shit out of Tatsu with it. And he has a great line about I'll never call golf a boring sport again.
How was he not cast in every movie after this role?
Elias Cody has had like a decent run in the 90s, and I don't know. I guess maybe he just kind of maybe it was let me see like what he's done lately. I remember he was in quite a bit of stuff for a bit, and then I don't know where.
Not like the star as you would. I would, even though this role is kind of silly in a way, though he does it very well. Like you said early on in this, no one really plays this aloof. They're all taking this very seriously.
I know his big thing has been for quite some time. He's a regular on Chicago PD.
Oh yeah. He was very busy in the 90s. I mean, in the 1990 alone, he was in 5 movies. 5, sorry. And like then he just kind of he was actually pretty active until about 2017, then he kind of dipped off. He was in some weird shit too. Like
yes, he was.
To pick out a couple, very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas.
Why would they make that?
I don't even know. I just he was in. I remember him being in Collateral Damage. Yeah, I remember that now. He had a decent career, and he was on television. He was on Chicago PD and Chicago Med as this and Chicago Job. Basically, once you got into that Chicago story, because it's Chicago Fire, PD, Med, Justice. It's like all of them. He was on 4 shows for about 6 years. So it happens.
Seeing Sam Rockwell really excel after this one.
Yeah. He this was definitely a let's just get your face out there. He was like, and then Sam Rockwell was like, well, what am I going to be doing? What's going to make people really like me? He's like, well, you're going to give cigarettes to underage kids.
Cigarettes to kids.
I don't think you're listening. No, Tatsu just isn't speaking English. He actually did speak decent English. He was the character himself doesn't speak much. It's just part of his characterization. He's very much the like stoic, cold-blooded killer. But this is kind of another point. Oh, there he is. Where he has Casey has a moment where he kind of explains to the Foot pledges, like, this is not a family. This is, this guy over here doesn't care about you. All this shit is not a family, And it's kind of the moment. It's going to become important very, very soon. But the turtles have chased most of the Foot Clan up onto a roof, and that's where Shredder's had enough of this shit, and he decides, I'm gonna go fuck them up. I'm done with this. Everybody I've trained sucks, and I've wasted my time on all of them, so I'm just gonna go do it. And so obviously the turtles up to this point have had pretty much been in control of the situation until they go up against Shredder, who easily dispatches them at first, which is where this clip picks up. This one has sound, so.
What point did we lose control here? Any thoughts?
I've only got one thought. This guy knows where Splinter is.
Where's Splinter?
Ah, the rat. Huh? So it has a name. It had a name.
We met in the home of my master, Omato Yoshi.
It's him.
Death comes for us all, for when you die, it will... Without honor. Oops!
That might be the only part that I actually didn't really like of this movie. I would have liked to see Splinter do a lot more.
I don't think he can physically.
Probably not. But I would have liked to see that fight scene happen a lot longer.
I just want to let me just highlight a couple chats that happened and while that came through. Of course, yes, it had a name. I do love the voice that they give him. It's not the actor's voice. It's not his.
Yeah.
It's what is it? I had another one here. Oh, yeah. This is very important that Shredder basically states that he might have lost if the other three fought him at once, and acknowledges that they actually are skilled. Which is and then there was one more I wanted to highlight. Oh, here it is. Even the turtles fall victim to attacking one of Mook chivalry at its finest, right there.
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of crazy that the Michael Bay one, didn't they have Shredder go into a giant suit or something?
Probably. I think that
it wasn't a
later on they kind of made Shredder into like a robot, like a guy who got into like a robot suit.
This is so much cooler, just having him fight him as an actual person. And
I have some stills from the scene because obviously it had sound, so I didn't want to replay it. But the one thing I have a problem with here. So first of all, he kind of just gives up on being a good fighter and just runs.
Yeah,
he sees red and runs at a obvious ledge. He's like, there's nothing behind. Even if he did stab Splinter, he was gonna fall over still. There was no positive outcome here for him. And then, of course, he throws the dagger, which Splinter catches and then loses his hand, his grip. So then he falls. And my favorite line from that sequence is when Casey Jones just oops crushes him. Oops. Somehow he survives that. It's crazy. It's because he comes back for another movie. But yeah, they embrace Master Splinter, who has a funny, might I add, which is important because in the second movie at the end he has another funny, and I love that they keep that little running gag that he says a joke at the end of each one. The cops do show up, and finally, and they start arresting people, And Sam Rockwell has his come to Jesus moment.
It's just funnier than knowing that that's him.
Yeah.
It's like you were in Moon.
That's great. Yeah.
And yeah, he was, and basically he tells them to go how to get to the hideout, and that they'll get all their answers there. And here's they've succeeded. They've won. They've definitely killed Shredder. He's never coming back for the sequel, and they get to eat all the pizza that they want. The end. And here's some backstage photos. Which, like I said, like if you look, there's Kino is Donatello. It looks like, yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah, I do see the guy from the back of the car there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the pizza delivery guy, right there. He's the other one. Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's clearly they flip-flopped between several people in the suits, obviously.
Yep. I did share something with you in the private chat as well.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Let me see. Oh, I'll
or I can just share it. It's up to you.
I'm just wondering if I can play it. That's the problem. I don't want to because it's not edited down. So I'm not sure if we'll get. I mean, we could try it. I'll just do it in sections. Hold on. Let me pull it up.
Well, it's pretty grainy, and it doesn't have any music or anything to it.
Well, let's give it a shot. Just give me a second here, and I'll pull it up.
And if you want, you can jump about 30 seconds into that before you play it.
Let me. I'm just setting it up so it looks good on screen here.
Yep.
Because it looks terrible when you have like all the what to watch next videos next to it and stuff. So
yeah.
Let's see. Is this it? No.
Yeah, it's interesting to see all these original characters here, all the original actors in their costumes, and the stuntmen in their costumes. These were made by Jim Henson's team that made those incredible costumes. Yeah.
So let's see. Let's hope I'll do it in like segments, so that way we don't.
Awesome! Bodacious!
Bitchin'! Did he say bitchin'?
Wow, he did.
Yeah. PG.
You said we could jump about 30 seconds.
You can jump about 30 seconds in, yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Yep.
This we might be able to play this clean through.
This was
I made a funny.
Okay, so here's the extended part.
Okay. I guess chat, just let me know if we go black on this.
These are very interesting, Miss O'Neill. Very interesting. As the basis for a comic book, I think the idea is just...
Is that Kevin Eastman?
Too far
No, I don't think so.
That'd be hilarious if it was. I've never actually seen what Kevin Eastman looks like.
Far-fetched. Shish. Yeah.
No, there you go.
Okay. That was funny.
Yeah, the original ending where they try to sell the idea of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book. So, yeah.
It'd been funny if he looks at it and goes, so they're turtles, but they're teenagers?
And they have attitude.
And they're ninjas.
And this one says he's cool but rude. What is it?
Yeah. So I'm gonna show everybody this next and last slide, which is pure nightmare fuel. But these costumes have aged extremely poorly, to say the least. So
trigger warning.
yeah, this is what they look like now.
It's like 5 Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
They I love the giant teeth. It's my favorite part.
Yes.
But yeah, so that was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This stream was a little strange the way that we ended up doing it, but I think it went pretty well. And it's a very short movie, so I'm not shocked the stream was so quick. But yeah, so I guess that leaves us for some final thoughts. What does everyone think? I guess we'll start with you, Joe, since R2 went first before.
Oh, well, watching it a couple times before the stream, it really does capture a lot of great things about it. It's very well written. Like you said a couple times before, it does not waste any time at all. And it is kind of crazy that a movie about giant turtles has so many deeper layers to it, and it still holds up today. And I like it better than the ones that they're making now with too much CGI and too much comedy. I think it really holds up.
Agreed. It's definitely, I mean, there is comedic elements, but it knows when to turn them off, which is kind of important, especially when you have, they're not hitting you over the head with it. There are a few moments where they get a little forced comedy, like when Raphael's almost dead and Michelangelo's doing tricks with his, like that's a little bit. I wish that they wouldn't have done that scene. When I was a kid, I liked it, but as an adult, I realized that's kind of a shitty placed sequence. That would have been better if they would have did that maybe in the final fight, when your brother isn't literally dying behind you. But that's one of very few issues with the movie. Like I said, there's the one plot hole of how the hell did Danny even find their lair, and how is he not sick as a dog just being in the sewers? But other than that, yeah, it might be a deleted scene.
Yeah.
But Professor R2, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, well, coming on at the last minute, I didn't have a chance to rewatch this before we got on here, so wish I had more to say along the way, but it's still a great, really enjoyable film. To be honest, this movie is way better than it has any right to be. This is made by a tiny production house with this, and backed by Golden Harvest, mostly known for making kung fu movies, and then distributed by New Line in the U.S. But it was really a small budget, but it was made with a lot of heart. There was a lot of care that went into making this film. They had originally had the idea they wanted to animate the Ninja Turtles, so they would do sort of a Roger Rabbit kind of a thing. But they determined really early on that just wasn't going to work, and so they approached Jim Henson's team to ask about making actual articulated costumes, which is where we got the mouth movements, and that's where we got Splinter. And it looks really good, especially for this fairly low budget production at the time. And like I said, it's a really fun and enjoyable film. And we get some really interesting versions of the characters from the comics and from the cartoons, and in a lot of ways very true to the original characters themselves. So yeah, this is a great fun movie. It's fun to go back and visit it, and yeah, it was a great time today.
I 100% agree with you that it has no right to be as good as it is. It is based on a fairly solid property. It's a silly property when you break it down to, okay, it's turtles that are 6 feet tall turtles, and but when it goes to show you that if you treat anything seriously, and I don't mean like it has to be a serious, like completely serious script, but if you take the project seriously, and you put effort into it, you put your heart into something, you can make it memorable. There's some people who would argue this isn't a good movie. I don't agree with that. I think it does so well with all what it is, and if it wasn't successful and wasn't considered good, they wouldn't have done 2 sequels and tried to reboot it a bunch of times. It's clear that there was a love for this from people, and I think it's one of those ones I can watch over. First of all, it's you talked about the whole thing in 2 hours because it's a short movie. There's not the plot beats go very linear, but in a good way. Everything gets covered. One thing I didn't mention was that $20 bill that he steals, he gives back to her at the end. So like every little detail comes back full circle. I love that about movies when they don't forget little details. But yeah, it's. I guess I'll end the poll 34 votes. Not the biggest poll we've ever had, but let's see what it should give me the where. Oh, there we go. Okay, it took a second. So Raphael ended up winning. He was in last place early on. I was a bit shocked by that. But he ended up winning with 38%. Leonardo 26, Michelangelo 20, and Donatello 14. I was expecting Michelangelo to be the winner, to be honest with you. So you guys have surprised me. Which guy? I guess did you guys vote in it? Because I didn't vote in it. So
I did. I voted for Leonardo.
I voted for my Donatello.
I don't vote in them myself personally. When I was a kid, I liked Michelangelo the most probably because he's the most childlike, so you would identify. But as I've grown older, I've learned to appreciate Raphael so much more, and how like that he is really the driving force of the movie, even though he's half dead for a good 15 minutes of it. It's his journey to, like the rest of them are part of the journey as well, but it's really he's the driving force of the entire thing. But yeah, so as is tradition around here, I guess that leads us to you guys get a chance to plug your shit. That's where you tell us what you're doing, where you'll be, where we could find you, and what you have coming up. I guess we'll start with R2. He's our guest.
Yeah. So I'll be joining the Mr. Brown Alliance for his weekly catch up on various things happening around the world and around the internet in entertainment and so on. I'll be joining him a little bit later this afternoon. And on the regular, you can catch him and his crew over there on Sundays around 5 p.m. Eastern. And then every week, I join Price of Reason on Tuesday and Thursday evenings for the Night Owl over on his channel, Price of Reason Live. Usually, around 11:45 Eastern, 11:45 p.m. Eastern. Yep.
I just want to bring this up. I did mean to mention this, but I completely forgot. The soundtrack for this movie, fantastic. I love it. I the song, the original songs, and the reusage of licensed music. It just all, and they do the same thing in the second movie too. I mean, who can forget? Ninja Turtle rap.
Well,
which I guess we will do that one in the near future.
Yeah. Did you ever attend any of the Ninja Turtle rock shows?
No, I have not.
They had their live on stage rock performances that they did in the suits and everything. Yeah, it was.
I'll
wild.
have to check out like videos of that.
Yes, you can find there's a whole bunch of videos. There's even a promotional behind the scenes video that was made. You can find that on YouTube pretty easily.
It's pretty cool. So Joe, what do you got coming up? I mean, you're going to be on this show for the foreseeable future, but I'm sure you got things going on your channel.
Well, I have a Bob the Builder movie coming out. Jennifer Lopez is producing that. Of course, Bob's going to go to South America and lecture us on diversity and stuff like that. And otherwise, that I have just music coming out every day. And like I said, for the foreseeable future, as long as you guys enjoy having me here, I'd love to be here.
Oh, I enjoy somebody who's helping me out. That's for sure. That's number one priority is someone who has the availability to help me out. These shows are not easy to produce, and Uninspired did a lot for me with these shows. And I wish him luck in his future endeavors, but I'm going to miss him not only as a friend, but as a co-host, I'll drag him back in the future for a couple of episodes. He's not gone forever. It's not goodbye. It's just see you later. As for me, obviously you can find me here. It's my channel, but I'm going to be checking out Daredevil. I have not determined whether I'm going to do my like television rip aparts with the commercials yet on Daredevil, because I got to see where this is going. I have to see if it's going to be. It's really hard to do those kind of videos with things that are either just okay or really. If it's really good, I might try to do a reverse and just praise the shit out of it and then do good commercials. I'm not sure if it'll work, but I'll give it a shot. If it's just meh, it's a lot harder to do. No one cares about meh. So
Did you see the leaked fight yet?
I have not. I'll have to check that out. I was doing other things for this show and stuff. It's amazing how these leaks keep happening, but I'm obviously later this month I'll be covering Snow White because there's no way in hell that that's going to be good. So, but yeah, other than that, you can see me here. We'll be off next week. I did cancel one of the shows because of the adjustment period. Normally we do all of the weeks of March with the martial arts movie, but because of the adjustment period of switching over co-hosts, I wanted a week where we could kind of sit down and figure things out. We will be back on the 16th with The Way of the Dragon, the greatest movie to ever feature Bruce Lee fighting Chuck Norris in the Roman Coliseum ever made.
So good.
I mean, there's many movies that fall into that exact category, and it's the best one. But
one of the most iconic lines ever about Chinese spare ribs.
Yeah. And then there's and that's actually we're gonna give it a shot. Joe's gonna be doing the narration for that one, that one. So and then we'll be back for Street Fighter, the animated movie, and Mortal Kombat, the not animated movie, in the near future. So other than that, I think this is we're at exactly 2 hours. This is a good spot to end. It's gonna be 2:01 by the time I hit the button, but it's I just want to thank the audience. You were awesome as always, and thank my co-host, thank my guest, and that just leaves me to hit the button and head on out. See you all later.